Hello everyone and welcome back to Refugee Solidarity Week. Today is our third day. I am Ihsan and I am a volunteer for Human Rights Solidarity. I am a 16-year-old A-level student here to host your program today. In today's program we will have a range of interviews and exhibition videos. Please do not forget to like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section. We now have an interview with Matthew Powell. Enjoy.
Hey Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great, man. Great. So let's just get right into it. First of all, could you just briefly introduce yourself, and who are you and what do you do?
Of course. So my name's Matthew Powell. I am the CEO and founder of Breaking Barriers. I started Breaking Barriers about 5-6 years ago now. When I was in my early 20s, having done a piece of research into integration outcomes for refugees in the UK and why they differed from integration outcomes in other countries, looking specifically at the nature of our asylum system and the policy elements of it. That created specific barriers in the UK that perhaps didn't exist in other countries. And then off the back of that, I created Breaking Barriers because I saw an opportunity for an organisation to help refugees overcome some of those barriers that they faced, and specifically by partnering with the private sector to do so.
Fantastic. And what was particularly the inspiration to start off this project? Was there any particular gaps in the, I suppose, charity market, or you took inspiration of something else in a different country, an experience, or?
I guess Breaking Barriers is probably a combination of my academic interest, which is migration, I guess one of my personal passions, which is supporting individuals that may have been forcibly displaced, is probably the best word to describe it. So that doesn't necessarily need to be people that have arrived in this country as refugees, but people that are victims of human or sex trafficking, people that have been forcibly displaced within country, because that's obviously a large proportion of global refugees. So that's something that I really care about on a personal basis. And then the final element, which I think is what stopped me going to work for another charity and create Breaking Barriers myself, is I guess an entrepreneurial spirit and my own appetite to identify problems and come up with solutions.
Fantastic. And I suppose with Breaking Barriers, you're involved with from start to finish working with refugees, and in light of that, is there any particular an unforgettable memory you have with or a good example of a transformation that you're very proud of?
I think I probably met 500-700 people that we've supported over the last 5 or 6 years personally, and they all in their own way provide me with an inspiration, and it's not easy working in the sector, and by that I mean the charity sector. It's can be very stressful, and it's the people that we support that motivate us to continue working in it. And so I've got countless individual stories. I think in terms of an unforgettable memory, I'm very much interested in systemic change. So part of my the piece of research I was doing was looking at how can we change the system to reduce. So what we're doing as an organization now is responding to the barriers that are created by the system. My piece of research was how do we change the system so that those barriers don't exist. So I'm very interested in that systemic change piece, and I think we have a partnership with IKEA that was created by myself and someone called Hilary Jenkins at IKEA about 4 or 5 years ago, where we supported refugees into the business. We created quite a unique recruitment process, from training to assessment centre to them working there and then being supported whilst they're working there. And it was very unique, and we scaled it with IKEA in the UK over a number of years, and we managed to get a number of people into jobs. And going back to your point on individual stories, there's some amazing stories about individuals who got promotions or got a couple of promotions within a year and things like that. But the best thing about it was it led to our partnership, led to their global CEO making a commitment to hire, or not necessarily hire, but support refugees in all of their global markets by 2021. So I'm very proud of the fact that my team has kind of created a partnership that I'm proud of the team at IKEA as well. I've been involved. I've created a partnership that is going to change the lives of thousands of people long term, and also provides a blueprint for potentially other businesses to do something similar.
Really, really well done. Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. Moving on, what would you say, what does homeland or home mean to you, or refugees?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
I was born in London. I live in South London. I was born in South London. I haven't really, where I live now is not far from where I was born. In between, I've lived in other countries and things like that, and been very privileged to be able to have voluntarily done that. Home to me is probably South London. I have tried to leave it, but I always keep coming back. And I constantly have to remind myself of how lucky I am to be able to choose where I live. And the fact that I'm in a position where the home I live in now is pretty much the home I had when I was growing up, I think is something that I'm very conscious of, that I'm very lucky to have.
Understood. And like you were saying earlier, I'm sure you've met many refugees, hundreds of refugees. What is a general problem you've seen happen to many refugees, or what would be like the kind of core issues a refugee might have when arriving to a new country such as the United Kingdom?
So there are lots of challenges, and I guess the one thing to probably caveat this answer with is that refugees are labelled refugees by other people, and other than the fact that they are labelled refugees, it's probably the most diverse group of people you could ever possibly imagine, because unfortunately people are forcibly displaced all over the world for a whole variety of different reasons. And of the people we supported last year, we have over 55 different nationalities. We have a massive age range. We have it's just an incredibly diverse group of people. So for that reason, the experience that everyone has is different, and it's different depending on where their own personal circumstances, as well as the country that they end up in, or city if they move internally. So I guess one of the things that they probably require is support that recognizes their individual circumstances. And if I'm looking from an employment perspective, I'm not an expert on the asylum process, so potentially when a lot of people first arrive. But if I'm looking from an employment perspective, which is potentially a bit further down the integration journey, although I don't really like that phrase, it's probably the fact that a lot of services don't acknowledge how diverse the group of people that they're supporting are, and that's not a criticism of charities. That's a challenge that charities have because of financial challenges, that they have to be able to provide services cost effectively. But the general challenges that people face is that there's naturally an English language barrier that needs to be overcome, but not necessarily for everyone. There's a lack of understanding of the specific labour market they're moving into. Every labour market is completely different. If I moved to France, I would have no idea how to find a job. There is specifically to the UK, the asylum system, where the majority of refugees can't work, creates quite a significant barrier, because that asylum process can be very lengthy. The longest I've seen is over 20 years, and how do you put that on your CV? A gap of 20 years, and then on top of the other barriers that refugees face more broadly, such as a lack of work experience in that particular country, or a lack of education in that country, it becomes a bit of a perfect storm of lots of different factors that make it incredibly different to find work. And then that's not even taking into consideration the challenges that some people might face in terms of having no fixed address, or they might be dealing with a spouse or a dependent who has physical or mental health issues that have resulted from whatever atrocity they might have been leaving behind. So it is complex in terms of the challenges people face, but I guess the one thing that I would say, based on my experience, is that every single person I've met has a massive and unbelievably huge appetite to want to integrate and to want to work and to contribute, and to utilize their skills for their own benefit as well as the benefit of the country where they've arrived. And I think the onus is on us as a society and as individuals and as organizations to allow them to create the conditions for them to be able to do that. So I think unfairly in some quarters, it's the accusation is made that people don't want to work or don't want to integrate, but from my experience, it's the polar opposite. The appetite to work is remarkable.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a really good overview. Definitely more multifaceted and complex than I initially thought. So obviously, in the last few months during COVID-19, we've seen like the kind of impact on businesses for profit. From your side of things, from a charity perspective and your operations, has it been a bit of a curveball thrown at you? What kind of logistical issues might have you had?
Yeah, it's been massive. We had to suspend our services immediately after lockdown. We did that for a few reasons. The first is that our services weren't set up to be delivered remotely, so we couldn't physically deliver our services. The second being that at that stage, we were unsure about what the needs were of our client base, and anecdotally and through informal conversations, employment support didn't seem like the immediate need of not just the refugee population, but the population more broadly. It was about housing, it was about welfare, if people had lost their jobs. It was about health and information availability about what the crisis is, and what implications it might have on them. So And then the other aspect of that is we decided to participate in the government's furlough scheme. So the big challenge to not just the us as an organisation, or the refugee sector or the charity sector, is income. And we at that stage had no idea how long this was going to last. And I think, as is well documented, the economy is going to struggle. And unfortunately, at times of economic struggle, charitable giving goes down, whether that's from businesses to trust and foundations to individuals, because there's less money to go around. But unfortunately, it's at the time when charities are probably needed more than ever. It is a struggle, but we've got some amazing partners, some amazing corporate partners, amazing trust and foundations who have been phenomenal in their support of us to get us through this crisis. Unfortunately, we were in a position where we were able to commit to bringing all staff back from the furlough scheme, and all of our services will be fully up and running by July, which is great. And we've been working over the last couple of months and continue to do so to adapt our services to be able to be delivered remotely where possible, and where the individual's got the digital capabilities to do so. And then throughout over the last couple of last month or so, we did a needs assessment, so a client survey of everyone that we were supporting going into the crisis, to identify what their needs were going to be over the next 3-6 months. And we've used that and we're actually going to publish that report externally. We're going to use that data to inform what our programs need to be over the next 3 to 6 months.
Great. Glad to hear that you're like staying afloat. And of course, just last 2 questions here. How can, from the individual perspective, how can people help refugees during quarantine?
I think there's probably 2 ways. The obvious one is financial support to refugee charities. That refugee charities, like every charity, need support, and I'm not gonna. But I also understand that individuals probably, or some individuals, will be experiencing their own challenges financially as well. So if people can give, please give within your means. The other aspect is volunteering. Most charities that I know have, including ourselves, have strong volunteer programs. They integrate volunteers into their core delivery. For us, that would be providing employment advice to refugees, or if you've got the qualifications, teaching English classes. And we would normally do that volunteering in person, but as we're adapting our services online, those volunteering opportunities will be available online as well. So I would encourage people to reach out to charities to, if they're interested in volunteering, because the majority of them will have some available, I imagine.
Fantastic. And just lastly, what advice would you give to a newly arrived refugee?
Wow, I don't think there's probably any much. That's a very good question.
Like a generic in terms of, I don't know, whether it could be language learning or like making use of resources, or.
It's very hard for me to comment on what I would say to them. I think my experience of working with refugees is that they, as I said earlier, have a huge appetite to integrate, and they have a resilience that is kind of awe-inspiring. So I probably wouldn't give them. God, this is a tricky question. If I had to say something that would probably help them the most, but I don't think is necessarily the right advice to give, because there isn't necessarily the support. I can guarantee there will be the support available. Would be to do whatever they can to to improve their English, because that would then feed into that has a knock-on effect in terms of their ability to access information and access other or find out what other services are available to them. The problem with that piece of advice is there isn't necessarily that support available to them, which is what I would say should become available is intensive English language classes from the day people arrive would be massively beneficial to the refugee community, as well as or even provided to although I don't really know the asylum space there as well, but that would then have a massive knock-on impact in terms of people's ability to find jobs as and when they're able to work, or it might change the type of work that they go into if they potentially have professional backgrounds and things like that.
Great. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up there, Matthew. Really appreciate your time.
No problem.
I understand you've had a lot of recognition, you know, Forbes 30 under 30. So like, well done, and really hope that Breaking Barriers goes from strength to strength in the future.
Thanks so much, Nassir.
Yeah, all right. Take care now. Yeah?
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you to Matthew Powell, the founder of Breaking Barriers, for that great interview. Upcoming, we now have a short video of around 20 meaningful cartoons made by prominent artists from Humanity Cartoons. Thank you to Humanity Cartoons for allowing us to share such fantastic pieces of artwork. Now we have an interview with Fouzia Razvi, co-founder of Lewisham Refugee Welcome. Enjoy.
Hello everyone. Today I'm joined by Fouzia from Lewisham Refugee Welcome. We will be conversing about the work that they do with refugees in celebration of Refugee Week. Hi Fouzia.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for accepting our invitation. As HRS, we feel privileged for you to be on here.
Thank you, you're welcome, most welcome.
Okay, so first, could you start by introducing yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Fouzia Razvi. I'm half Arab, half Pakistani, so I speak Arabic and I speak Urdu fluently. I came to UK in '95. The reason we came here because my husband wanted to have some training as a surgeon here in UK. Then after a little while, we thought, maybe it's better to live here. It's better for our children. We compared the lifestyle back home and here. We felt more secure here in UK, so we decided to stay here, and we are British now.
Great. So I'd like to know, how did you start working with refugees? What was your initial motivation to start working with refugees?
My motivation that I like to help. I like to help people, because when you go to a country that you are a bit of a stranger there, if the culture is different, if the language is different, the religion is different, everything is different to you, you want someone to help you. So I felt that way, and I can remember the people that they helped me when I came to UK in the beginning initially. So that's why I want to help, and this is how I started when I used to know people, sometimes people ask me, can you come with me to the hospital? Can you come to the surgery? Can you come to school? Can you show me the nearest mosque or the nearest school? And then slowly, I became involved in this sort of things because I was working in Lusham Mosque since 2014. Beginning of 2014, and they were connected to a lot of citizen UK work, and I was the community engagement officer there and the outreach. So through them, then I got to know that there might be a refugee coming, and I attended all the seminars, all the workshops to do with refugees, and then I started from then. You can say 2014, 2015, I was like an activist calling to bring refugees because of, especially in Syria and Iraq and lots of places in the Middle East, there are some sort of problems. So I thought, let me ask the council, and luckily the council agreed to bring families, refugee families. And they started coming since 2017 till now. They are coming luckily to Lusham Council. But I help also the refugees in Greenwich, refugees in Lambeth, or anyone or any woman, any person who needs help. Sometimes they can't speak the language. Sometimes they don't know the law. Sometimes they don't know what is, where is the, what is their rights, what are their obligations. If you know something, you just help people with it. So yeah. I like to help. That's why.
That's great. You're doing amazing stuff. So I'd like to know, what kind of work do you do? What kind of projects do you do with refugees?
I told you that we started, when I was working in the mosque, we started asking the council to bring people. And then we were a group of people, different religion and different background, and we were active in that area. Then we decided to call ourselves Lusham Refugee Welcome Group, and now we are trying to make it as a proper charity, hopefully. So since then, I was since 2015 starting it, but when the refugees from Iraq and Syria arrived to Lusham, we started our work. So you can say from 2017. Basically, what we do as a project, we try to match our volunteer with the families if they need help with anything. Like sometimes the volunteer will go and help them in anything they needed, and sometimes in English class, whatever we can facilitate for them. So basically, we provide volunteers, or we connect the volunteers to the.
That's great. So the volunteers are generally Arabic-speaking volunteers?
No. I want Arabic-speaking, but most of our volunteers, I can say 95% of our volunteers, they are non-speaking of Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. So if possible, could you share a story of a refugee that you were in close contact with? How has the work that you do impacted them on a personal level?
I have lots of families that I work with them. This project that we do is only in Lusham, but I work with lots of families. In Greenwich, for example, I helped a lot of families. Like sometimes a family can have a child who's disabled, and they can't even tell their problems to the support workers, or they can't understand what to do, what not to do. So I help them, this particular family with a disabled child. There is another family with 3 disabled children, and I help that family. But I will tell you a story of a family here in Lusham. The husband is disabled. The mom herself, she has 2 young children, and they can't speak English at all. The husband can't read and write Arabic, let alone English. And slowly by empowering people, I think you keep telling them, oh, you can do it, you can manage. When I came here, I couldn't speak a word in English. Now I speak English, so you can do it, you can manage. We try to organize for classes for food hygiene, and luckily the lady went, and I said, one of you, if the husband or the wife, join this class of food hygiene, then you can cook and sell your food. Even if the wife does it and the husband is the one who's cooking, but she will take the responsibility. Once you have a certificate, you can take your food and sell it. So luckily this lady is making baklawa and basbousa and this Arabic sweet and selling it. And luckily all the refugees that we have, they are entitled to work in UK, so they are allowed to work. At the same time, they need to tell the job center that they are working. But I mean, empowering people, and I can see, alhamdulillah, if they have any problem, they contact me. Sometimes this lady, she has some gynecologist problem. She needs someone to talk to, or I connect her to someone that I know. I connect her to a midwife that I know. Sometimes I just translate. So it's nice to see that people can call you anytime, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. You are there for them and empowering them. And, sometimes like this lady said, oh, because of you, I'm here. I was thinking to go back, or, I couldn't manage this lifestyle. It's so difficult. Suddenly you have to go, you have to change your lifestyle, you have to speak another language, you have to live in a different culture. Everything you start from zero. And sometimes you think, oh, can I manage by myself? I have a disabled husband, 2 young children. Can I manage or not? But if you see people say, empowering you and say, you can do it. MashaAllah, this lady, she speaks English very confidently now. She's taking English classes. She sells this sweets. And also sometimes she helps us with, when people give us donation, I put sometimes the donation at her house. She knows a lot of people, other refugees. And then she helped me sorting out washing and sorting out, okay, this family might need this thing, this family might need that thing. So she's been helpful. She's been amazing. And also if there is any meeting with the council or Citizens UK or something, she will go forward, she will speak English, Arabic, and I like to do that. I like, to bring people that they think, oh, I can't manage my, let me go back, or what I'm doing here, or let me run away. Sometimes you are so bad, or you think everything is gloomed and dark in your face, that you think, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. But alhamdulillah, if you see a sister that look after you and smother you and say, no, you can manage, I was like that, or I know someone who was like that, and no, you have lots of rights, or you can do this. And then and alhamdulillah, in UK also we have lots of fairness, and people recognize your work. And she get a lot of recognition from the counselors, from other people, from the neighbors. So alhamdulillah, people appreciate and they encourage. And because she's social, she likes to say hello to everyone, and everyone say hello to her. And whenever you say, let's do this, she goes. Whatever English she knows, she will go forward. And even if I tell her today, because of Corona, I didn't tell her, but if I tell her today, let's come and do this interview or something, she will come forward and she will speak, and you will see how amazing she is and how confident she is.
I think the work you do is just amazing, and I can see that you have so much passion for it. So this story in particular has really affected me, because you've helped someone and now they're able to do their own thing and they're able to help others as well, which is just great to hear.
And it is very, very rewarding. You feel really, really happy. Sometimes even you have a telephone call at 11:30 in the night, or you go with someone at 2 o'clock in the night to the hospital or something, but the impact in their life later on, or the impact you see, or the happiness, or how you change their life because you've done little things. Sometimes it's really little. You can't think, oh, this impacted someone. Like someone tell you, oh, because of you, I stayed in UK, or because of you, I'm doing this. It's really rewarding. I can't even describe it, how I feel happy. And, if someone tell you like, oh, alhamdulillah, because of you, you remember, even I forget. Sometimes I forget. I said something, or, oh, you remember when you said that to me? Remember when you've done that to me? Alhamdulillah. It's very, very rewarding. Amazingly rewarding.
Must be. So, Fouzia, I'd like to know, how have you had to change the way you work during this pandemic? because you can't really meet up with people, and I'm sure you've had to change the way that you work. How has that impacted you?
In a way, it was good because most of the time I was speaking on the phone and doing things on the phone or Zoom. So it was easier for me. And also, I didn't need to go inside. So every time I'm bringing something or moving something or taking food, because Ramadan also came in between or something. So it's just from the door. All what you do, wear gloves and wear the mask and then change it, keep using the sanitizers, and I keep washing my hand and my clothes when I come home. And even when I arrive somewhere, I use the sanitizer all the time, even though I'm far away from the people. But I've done more work, I think, when it is the lockdown, because it saved me some time. When you go just from the door and do what you want to do and then go to another door. And also because of the pandemic, there were lots of help from lots of charities. And for example, some of the refugees, they got some boxes from food bank or something, but there are things that they don't eat in there. So you just put it outside. I'll take it and I'll take it to the nearest food bank that I have or something. So it's been really good, nice of exchange, and you see humanity in action, honestly. Muslim and non-Muslim, white and non-white, Christian, Jews, and also you feel like, oh, this, the Syrian don't eat this, but the Indian or the Afghani or the Nigerian eat this, and you start changing. So this pandemic, I think, it has its own blessing, even though it was difficult. But it has its own blessing. And I wasn't going inside, so I was saving time, because in the Arabic culture, it's not nice that you go and they don't let you come in and say hello to everyone or have a cup of tea with them. But now with the pandemic, you just do what you want to do, and hello from outside or from far away, and that's it. So alhamdulillah, it has its own blessing,
So it's had a lot of positive impact on.
Yes, and also a lot of advice, because sometimes people they know, but they think, oh, but let me do that, but let me go out, but let me do it. But if you tell them, no, everything will come to you, don't worry, you don't need to go out, lots of advice you need to give. Yeah, because sometimes you don't know the impact. My husband works in the hospital, and that's why I say it's really, really bad. Because sometimes some people started saying, oh, it's just media, and it's not that much, and let's go. But I kept saying, no, please. And even when I go to visit them, please come in, it's fine. No, sorry, it's not fine. I know it, I won't like it and you don't like it, but it's not fine. So, alhamdulillah. Yeah, it was a difficult time, but good time, alhamdulillah.
I'd like to also know your thoughts on how can we collectively erase the negative notions associated with refugees and the stereotypes that people have about refugees. So how can we change those ideas?
The best thing is, if you have some negative, go and meet someone, whether they are your neighbor, or go and see any charity that work with refugees, or educate yourself through the internet or something regarding refugees. Because if you have any negativity, you're not supposed to have any negativity. Sometimes I tell people as well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but you need to believe in in UK border, and they know who to bring in and who not to bring in. So once the person is here, and once the person gets the refugee status, even sometimes they are in the process of getting the refugee status, they are allowed to work. So educate yourself, try to help them if you feel that they are not helpful. But we need to think, we human beings, we complement each other. I have some weaknesses and some strength. You have some weaknesses and some strength. So we complement each other. Like if we have people from Iraq, we can have the culture of Iraq coming here, the food of Iraq coming here. Like the Indian food, how popular it is nowadays. You have a taste of the music, the taste of the food, the culture by itself, how they celebrate their festivals, how they celebrate their Eids or whatever. So they add. It's a good mix. When we have refugees here and they are already here and they are legal, and also they can work. They have lots of skills. For example, the art and the woodwork, and there are lots of people are good with that. If you are in a country rushing, we are rushing. We don't have time for art or wearing nice clothing or having nice food or something. Sometimes people can cook you Indian food or Arabic food or Nigerian food. It adds to your lifestyle, and it's something good. So why we resent something is not good. And I think educate yourself and be open and get to know. If you feel like, oh, why my neighbor is a refugee or something, get to know them and see. I'm sure you will have positive experience. You add something positive to your life and your children as well. Because sometimes I think if you listen to the media sometimes with all negativity, then I would worry that, oh, my children, they are not supposed to mix with this person or that person or something because of what's in my mind regarding what the media is telling me. But if you get to know that person, you will think, no, it's good that my children, they add up to their life. They see life from other perspective. They understand other people, how they think, their culture, their language. It's good to learn Arabic, for example. We as Muslim, we have the Quran in Arabic, and the Syrian and Iraqi and lots of refugees, they speak Arabic. Oh, why don't we learn Arabic from them? Something like that, or learn Arabic songs or Arabic food or something like that. So think of it as a positive thing. Don't think of it as something negative. Try not to, because these people came here legally and they are allowed to work and they have lots of rights like yours, and they can add up to your life. And if I'm scared from my neighbor and my neighbor is scared from me, what type of life we will have as a community or for the future of UK? We need to accept each other and live with each other in a harmonious way. And like I said, we can add up, we complement each other's skills, we can add up to each other.
Yeah. Lastly, I'd like to ask you, how easy is it to get involved in work with refugees? So not just with the work that you do, but in general, any work to do with refugees. How easy is it to get involved? Or is it easy?
Oh, very easy. If you have time, all what you need, time and energy and willingness to give a little bit of your time to do something good. And the reward is amazing. Check any charity. If you have any skills, like any language or any skills, if you are good with computers or with technology, if you are good with English, that you can teach English, anything, even if you have extra stuff in your house and you want to get rid of it, or if you drive a car, like for example, sometimes we need a fridge or a cupboard or something from one house to all. What we need is someone to drive the car from one place to another, and you don't need to think, oh, I have to do something special. Every person, every one of us has something to give. But if you are willing and if you have some time, little time and energy, and you don't need to commit yourself, but I think it's good. And it's good to know, people from different culture. It's good to help other people, and it's good to be part of the community that we look after each other. And if you help people, then you will find someone who will help you. And even if you don't, you just feel that, oh, I'm doing something positive, or I impacted someone's life. So educate yourself if you want, or just go forward. If you have little time, just go forward. All what you need is some time and some energy, and that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Fouzia. We've come to the end of the interview.
You are welcome.
But
you are welcome.
To say that the work you do is amazing and it's so inspirational. Me hearing this from you, I want to go out and help and do more things as well. So thank you for that. And
you are welcome. You are most welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fouzia. Now we have another short exhibition video from Humanity Cartoons. Thank you to Humanity Cartoons for allowing us to share another eminent project. We now have a short video made by one of our volunteers in respect to justice for Shukri Abdi. Enjoy.
Shukri Abdi was 12 years old. She was the eldest out of 5 siblings. After she started school, she was always excluded and discriminated. She was even seen being pushed in front of the car by her friends who excluded her. They took her by the river, pulling her hijab and threatened her. "I will kill you if you don't jump in the river." Third and fourth child who saw Shukri drowning tried to save her. However, the first and second child continued laughing and making fun of her. The third and fourth child, who realized she would not survive, went to the police. There was always such racism in the school of Shukri Abdis. I want justice for my child.
That was a very meaningful and emotional video made by one of our volunteers. And that brings us to the end of our program. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share with your friends and family. And we're hoping to see you tomorrow. Goodbye.